The smell of garlic sizzling in butter mingled with the steam from the pots, filling the air with a promise of comforting food. The kitchen buzzed in a choreographed chaos. Chefs shouting orders, waiters sliding hurriedly between the counters, pots clanging. I should have been more alert. I should have paid attention. But my hunger spoke louder. My stomach growled. I hadn't stopped for even a second since the shift started. Working in the kitchen of one of the trendiest restaurants in the city meant forgetting what rest or dignity was. And that's how it happened. My eyes landed on a small piece of perfectly decorated chocolate cake waiting to be served. It wouldn't be missed. A quick forkful, a tiny little piece, just to trick my stomach. I brought it to my mouth without thinking. I chewed. The rich, velvety flavor enveloped me. And then, something hard. My eyes widened. A second later, I swallowed reflexively. Panic hit me like a punch to the chest. Something was tearing down my throat. My whole body froze. The fork dropped from my hand, clattering against the porcelain with a shrill noise. "You okay there, Claire?" asked Jackson, one of the waiters, as he tied his apron. I wanted to respond. To say yes, that everything was great, but my mind could only repeat in a frantic loop, what was that? What did I just swallow? Before I could process, a booming voice echoed through the kitchen. "Where's my dessert?" I turned slowly. On the other side of the counter door, a tall, imposing man waited, his dark eyes fixed on the table in front of him. Impeccable attire, serious expression. One of those men who seemed born to command the world. The chef stormed across the kitchen like a hurricane. "Claire, what the hell happened to the dessert for the VIP table?" My mouth opened, but nothing came out. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it. Oh, great. The chef huffed, pointing to another waitress. "Get another dessert and take it to table 12, now!" My eyes returned to the man in the expensive suit. He didn't look away. He seemed patient, but in a dangerous way, like a lion that doesn't need to roar to be feared. That's when it happened. "What's going on?" A woman, the restaurant manager, came rushing from the reception with a pale waiter beside her. "Mr. Donovan, I can explain." Donovan. My stomach dropped. That name was familiar. Ethan Donovan, businessman, billionaire, owner of half the city, and a VIP client of the restaurant. He lifted something between his fingers, a small velvet case. My fiancé's ring was in the dessert. The silence was absolute. My body froze. And now it's gone. All eyes turned to me. I felt myself shrink. My brain was working too fast, yet I couldn't process anything. "Claire!" The chef's voice was a deadly whisper. "Please tell me you didn't..." But I didn't need to answer. My face must have been as white as flour. Ethan Donovan stepped forward, his presence dominating the entire room. His expression remained unreadable, but his dark eyes scrutinized every detail of me. "You." His voice was cold and sharp. "Swallowed my ring?" I wanted to evaporate. To run away. To wake up and realize it was a terrible dream. But it wasn't. And somehow, I knew my life would never be the same. If someone had told me I would end the night sitting across from an enraged billionaire, trying to explain how I accidentally swallowed a ridiculously expensive engagement ring, I would have laughed. But there I was, curled up in a luxurious leather chair, feeling each second weigh like an eternity. The restaurant was now silent. People whispered, avoiding looking directly at me as if I had committed an unnameable crime. The chef kept pacing back and forth, pulling at his own hair, and across the table, Ethan Donovan watched me as if he were deciding whether I was a problem he would solve with money or patience. "You swallowed my fiancé's ring?" I swallowed hard. What was a terrible move, considering the circumstances? "It was an accident." My voice came out weak, almost inaudible. "An accident?" He tilted his head slightly, his eyes analyzing me with that type of coldness that made my stomach churn. How, exactly, did that happen? I could feel my face burning. How would I explain? Hi, I was starving and decided to shove the dessert I was supposed to serve into my mouth. And along with it came your $1 million ring. Before I could respond, the restaurant manager intervened, her voice heavy with desperation. "Mr. Donovan, we assure you this has never happened before." Claire is an excellent employee, hardworking, dedicated. Ethan raised a hand, cutting off the justification. I'm not interested in a report on Miss Claire's conduct. He leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table. I'm interested in the ring. My whole body tensed. It will show up. I spoke quickly. His eyes sparkled with something that seemed like amusement. It will show up? I swallowed hard again. Yes, naturally. The silence between us grew heavy. He blinked slowly, as if absorbing the absurdity of the situation. Then, for the first time, his lips curved into an almost smile. I should have felt relieved. An enraged billionaire was one thing. An amused billionaire at my expense was another. And until then? He asked. I blinked. Until then? Do you think I can just wait around doing nothing? Yes. He laughed, low. A short sound, but it did something strange to my spine. Wrong. My stomach dropped. What? Ethan leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. I can't just wait to see what happens. That ring is worth millions, not to mention the sentimental value. I wanted to ask what kind of sentimental value that was, considering his fiancée was out of the country while he was having dinner alone, but I thought it wasn't the best time for sarcastic comments. I promised to return it as soon as, he comes back. He nodded slowly, as if he were reflecting on my response. I know you'll return it. But until then, you'll be under my supervision. My mouth opened and closed a few times. What? You heard me. That's ridiculous. And swallowing $1 million ring isn't? I shut my mouth. You will be under my supervision until this issue is resolved. I blinked, trying to understand whether that was a threat or a warning. You're kidnapping me? He laughed again, and this time the smile was almost genuine. No, I just like to make sure things go the way I want. And if I say no? He shrugged. Well, I could call the police for theft, but I prefer to resolve this more simply. My heart raced. He was joking, right? Right? I have a job, an apartment, a life. Don't worry. He stood up, adjusting his suit. I can guarantee that you'll have all of that, or none of it. My blood ran cold. And then he smiled. I'll see you tomorrow, Claire. I should have run, or hidden, or fled to another city. But no. There I was, sitting in an office so luxurious that I would never have imagined stepping into it, even in my best dreams, or worst nightmares. The smell of expensive leather and fresh coffee filled the air. Shelves full of imposing books lined the walls, as if they were there just to impress. A panoramic view of the city stretched out behind the huge, dark wood desk, where Ethan Donovan leaned back, analyzing some document with the same disinterest he had while looking at me. He didn't seem angry, which was worse, because it meant he was calculating something. And when men like him started calculating, someone always ended up losing, probably me. So, I was the first to break the silence, crossing my arms. You want to keep me under supervision. What does that exactly mean? He closed the folder he was holding and looked directly at me. It means that until the ring reappears, you'll stay close to me. The casual way he said that sent shivers down my spine. Close as in, do I have to send you daily messages? No. Close as in, do I have to work for you? Not yet. My patience was already thin and my growling stomach didn't help. Okay, then do you want to draw it out? He leaned forward, clasping his hands on the table. My fiancé is out of the country. The press cannot know that the ring has disappeared. If that leaks, it will be a scandal. I nodded slowly. Right. But what does that have to do with me? He studied me for a moment, his dark eyes analyzing every detail of my expression. Then he said the worst possible thing. Until the ring reappears, you will pretend to be someone important to me. I let out a short, nervous laugh. Ha, very funny. Now be serious. He didn't laugh. My stomach dropped. You're serious? Yes. Have you hit your head? No. Do you have any psychological issues? Not that I know of. I squinted, trying to process what was happening. You want me to pretend to be your... what? Assistant? Maid? He tilted his head slightly. My companion. I blinked. Sorry, I think I heard you wrong. You didn't. I laughed again, this time louder. Oh, sure. It makes perfect sense. Let's grab any waitress from a restaurant and throw her into high society as your companion. What could go wrong? Nothing if you know how to follow instructions. What? I can't. This is... I stood up, nervous. This is crazy. He leaned back in his chair as if he were enjoying my panic. Would you prefer that I sue you? My mouth opened and closed. He knew I didn't have money for lawyers. If he wanted, he could destroy me with a single phone call. He knew it. I knew it. I gritted my teeth. This is blackmail. I prefer to call it an opportunity. I wanted to throw something in his face, but the objects within my reach were too expensive for me to even consider breaking. I won't accept. Think carefully. He stood up and slowly walked to my side. His presence was suffocating, warm, and intimidating at the same time. It's just for a few days. No one needs to know the truth. You pretend, I pretend, and then we go back to our lives. I turned my face to look at him. Bad idea. He was close, too close. His scent, woody, sophisticated, dangerous, enveloped me. He was tall, taller than he seemed in the restaurant. His eyes had an unreadable glint, as if he already knew I had no way out. This is insane. He smiled to the side. You might think so, but in a few hours when you're evicted from your apartment, maybe you'll change your mind. My breath caught. What? He shrugged. I called the landlord. Your rent debt was going to get you kicked out anyway, but if you accept my offer, I'll take care of it. My heart raced. How do you know this? He just smiled. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to scream, to say he had no right to meddle in my life like this. But all I did was close my eyes and take a deep breath. I was cornered. And worse, he knew it. Then, in a firm and low voice, I said the words that would change everything. Okay, I accept. Ethan Donovan smiled. And for the first time, I had the feeling that I had just signed a contract with the devil. Dressing like someone you're not should be considered an Olympic sport. I had been staring at myself in the mirror for at least 5 minutes, trying to recognize myself in that dress. Expensive. Too fitted. Too shiny. Ethan Donovan was sitting on the hotel room sofa, scrolling through his phone as if he hadn't just ruined my life with a single look. He didn't seem bothered by the fact that he was dragging me to a high society event as his +1. But I was. I look like a fraud, I muttered, tugging at the hem of the dress. He raised his eyes, watching me for a moment too long before responding, You look acceptable. I scoffed. Wow, what a compliment. Almost convinced me. He gave a half smile but said nothing. He stood up and walked over to me, his familiar presence, suffocating and intense. He stopped too close, and I had to hold my breath to keep from getting lost in his woodsy scent. Look me in the eyes. My forehead creased. What? When you're in there, never lower your head. Never look away. People in this world sniff out weakness. I swallowed hard. It was easy for him to say. Ethan Donovan was born into this world. Me? I could barely pay my rent. But I needed to do this. Pretend for a few days. Play his game until this nightmare was over. So I lifted my chin and held his gaze. Ethan's eyes darkened slightly, as if my reaction surprised him, or intrigued him, but he quickly looked away. Come on, we can't be late. The event was an extravagance. Men in suits, women in stunning dresses, champagne flutes sparkling under the giant chandeliers. A string quartet played softly in the corner of the room, and waiters passed by with trays of hors d'oeuvres that probably cost more than my monthly salary. I felt like a fish out of water, and Ethan knew it. But to my surprise, he didn't let go of me. A warm, firm hand rested at the small of my back as we entered, guiding me effortlessly among the guests. Relax. His voice was low, close to my ear. You're doing fine. I exhaled slowly. I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Until the first socialite approached. Ethan! A stunning blonde woman appeared out of nowhere, scrutinizing me from head to toe with a sharp look. Who is she? Ethan didn't hesitate. Claire. Nothing more. No explanations, no apologies, just my name, laden with a weight it shouldn't have carried. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. Interesting. And then, just like she appeared, the woman walked away. I exhaled, feeling the tension rise up my back. What was that? Ethan smiled slightly. That was you being noticed. I don't like it. Get used to it. A few more people came by. Men shaking Ethan's hand, women sizing me up as if trying to guess how long I would last there. All the while, I felt his eyes on me, evaluating, and somehow protecting me, which didn't make sense. He wasn't a man who protected anyone but himself. So why the hell did I feel like he didn't want to see me fail? I needed air. I stepped out onto the balcony, leaving the weight of the party behind. The cool breeze hit my face and I finally managed to take a deep breath. But my peace didn't last long. Running away? The familiar, raspy voice made my whole body shiver. I turned slowly. Ethan was leaning against the door, watching me as if he had predicted my escape. I just needed a minute, I said, crossing my arms. He walked toward me, stopping too close. Always too close. You did well in there. Doesn't seem like it. He tilted his head slightly. What makes you think that? I let out a humorless laugh. Oh, maybe the fact that all those people know I don't belong in this world? He was silent for a moment. I know what it feels like to be out of place. I blinked, surprised. You, the all-powerful Ethan Donovan? I wasn't always all-powerful. The sincerity in his voice caught me off guard. Our eyes met, and for the first time, I saw something different there. Something less calculated, less cold. I should have looked away, but I didn't. And then, something changed between us. The silence became heavy, dangerous. And I knew that if I didn't leave that exact second, something would happen. Something neither of us was ready to admit. The silence between us was thick, heavy, the kind of silence that precedes something inevitable. I could feel Ethan's warmth, the way his presence filled the space around me. The night wind stirred my hair, and for a moment, everything inside the hall, the fake laughter, the critical glances, the ridiculous game I was playing, disappeared. All that remained was him, and the way he looked at me. You didn't pretend at all today. His voice was low, as if holding a secret. My breath faltered. What? He tilted his head slightly, watching me with a sharp gaze. In there. You didn't pretend to be part of that world. But you also didn't pretend that you wanted to escape it. I swallowed hard. I just did what you asked me to. You did more than that. The way he said it made something stir within me. A dangerous part that wanted to hear more. But I couldn't. I needed to get out of there. Well then, thanks for not humiliating me in front of everyone. I tried to sound casual, but my voice came out more hesitant than I wanted. He gave a half smile but didn't pull back. I'm not a man who pretends, Claire. Never have been. My heart skipped a beat, because there was something in the way he said that. Something that made me understand that. He wasn't pretending now, either. The air between us shifted. It became charged. His chest rose and fell slowly, as if he were controlling his own breathing, as if he were trying not to do something he wanted to. I should have taken a step back. I should have. But I didn't. And then, he kissed me, without warning, without hesitation. His lips met mine with unexpected firmness, and for a moment my brain shut down. There was no right or wrong, no contracts, no blackmail, no arrogant billionaires. There was only Ethan, and his taste. His warm, demanding mouth pressing against mine with something that felt as much like a question as an answer. My fingers clutched the front of his jacket before I could stop myself. I could smell him, woody, intense, dangerous. My heart was pounding in my chest, and for a moment I forgot everything. I forgot that he was a man who solved problems with money. I forgot that my life was a mess because of him. I forgot that all of this was a game, because that kiss wasn't a game. And that's exactly why, when he pulled away, my lips still parted, my heart out of sync. I knew. My life had just gotten a lot more complicated. And worse, part of me didn't regret it. I didn't sleep that night. The kiss still burned on my lips, and the memory of how Ethan held me, strong yet hesitant, as if he were breaking his own rules, haunted me until dawn. But I wasn't an idiot. That should never have happened. So, when I returned to my apartment the next morning, I decided it was time to put an end to this madness. But fate already had other plans for me. Congratulations, Claire. You finally got rid of $1 million ring. I stared at the gleaming jewel at the bottom of the tissue box, and then turned my eyes back to Ethan, who was standing in my tiny living room as if the very environment offended him. You don't have to say it like that. I crossed my arms, trying to maintain some dignity. I never thought I'd be so happy about, well, my body finally cooperating. He raised an eyebrow. Have you delivered many diamond births? First and last time. There was a strange moment when we locked eyes, and for a second, we almost laughed. Almost. But then reality hit. The ring was back. The problem was solved. I was finally free. Right? Wrong. Because instead of leaving my life without looking back, Ethan stood there, watching me with that unreadable expression. And I felt it. I felt that he wanted to say something. I felt that I did too. But I couldn't. So I forced myself to speak before silence swallowed us. Well, I guess that's it. You have the ring. Now you can return it to your fiancé and forget I exist. Ethan was silent. Too long. And then, he did something that caught me completely off guard. Stay a little longer. My heart stopped. I blinked, thinking I had misheard. What? He ran a hand through his hair, averting his gaze for a moment, a gesture that seemed so out of character for him that my chest tightened. Stay. Why? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Ethan held my gaze, and for the first time, I didn't see just the calculating, unshakable businessman who seemed to control everything and everyone. I saw doubt. I saw confusion. I saw a man who perhaps didn't know as much as he thought he did. Because I want to. My throat went dry. This was insane. There were no more contracts, no more blackmail, no more excuses for me to stay close to him. But the worst part? The worst part was realizing that, deep down, part of me wanted to say yes. I should have walked away that night. I should have taken the ring, returned it to Ethan, and moved on with my life without looking back. But I didn't. Instead, I stayed. Not because he asked, but because no matter how crazy it was, part of me didn't want to go. And that's how I ended up here, dressed in yet another expensive dress, walking beside Ethan Donovan as if I belonged to this world, as if I didn't know that at any moment, reality would come crashing down on me. And that's exactly what happened. Reality was wearing a red dress and a calculated smile. Darling. The feminine voice sliced through the hall like a sharp knife. My entire body froze. Ethan turned slowly. And I knew. Even before seeing her, I knew. His fiancée was back. The hall felt smaller, more suffocating. The woman standing before us was everything I imagined. And worse. Tall, stunning, flawless. The kind of person who was born to belong to this world. Her eyes slid over me as if I were an insignificant detail. And then they turned to Ethan. You've been distracted lately. Her voice was sweet, but there was a subtle poison there. Ethan didn't move, didn't blink. But I saw it. I saw the tension in his jaw. I saw his fingers clench at my side, as if he were holding himself back. And I saw when he looked at me. It was quick. Almost imperceptible. But in that second, I knew. Something was different. Something had changed between us. And she noticed. Her gaze sharpened. Who is your friend? The tone was casual, but I felt the trap. I opened my mouth to respond, to make up some stupid excuse. But Ethan was quicker. That doesn't matter. My stomach sank. I should have seen this coming. I was nobody. And that's what he was making clear. But then, why did it hurt so much? I see. She smiled, satisfied. And then, as if I weren't there, she took his hand. Ethan let her. My chest tightened. The game was over. I didn't belong to this world. Never had. and Ethan Donovan would never be mine. So, I did the only thing still under my control. I walked away. And this time, he let me. New York had never seemed so big. The city lights flickered around me as I walked aimlessly. The cold wind cut through my skin, but I barely felt it. Everything inside me felt numb. I knew this would happen. From the very first moment, from the first blackmail, from the first glance that lasted a second longer than it should have. I knew Ethan Donovan wasn't a man for me. And yet, there I was. Dead inside because he let me go without hesitation. Without a fight. I spent weeks trying to pick up the pieces of my life. I went back to work. I deleted his number from my phone. I did everything to forget that an arrogant and dangerous billionaire had disrupted my existence for a brief moment. And then, as if the universe wanted to test me, he showed up. But not as I imagined. Because this time, he wasn't alone. He was at the restaurant. My restaurant. Sitting at the most private table, the perfect bride beside him, and looking at me the whole time. My heart raced in that instant. I tried to ignore him. I tried to pretend that his presence didn't make my skin burn, but it was useless. Every step I took, every time I looked up, he was there, watching, evaluating, as if he were trying to understand something he didn't even comprehend. And then I did something impulsive, something that shouldn't have mattered to him, but it did. I smiled at another man, nothing too significant. A friendly customer, a casual smile. But it was enough. Enough to see the glass in Ethan's hand tighten, to see his jaw clench, to see, for the first time, something wild in his eyes. Jealousy. He had no right, no reasons. But there he was, holding his fiancée's hand too tightly, as if he needed to remind himself where he was supposed to be. And I knew. By the way he looked at me, by the way his breathing was heavy, by the fact that he didn't take his eyes off me the entire night. He could have gone back to the perfect life he chose, but Ethan Donovan never forgot me. And now, I knew it. It was supposed to be a normal day. For me, for him, for anyone who was there. But it wasn't. Because today was Ethan Donovan's wedding. And I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't have come. But somehow my feet brought me to that damn church, where the pews were filled with elegantly dressed people, waiting for a happy ending that wasn't mine. I stood outside, hidden in the shadow of the imposing columns, watching everything from afar. The altar was decorated with white flowers, the chandeliers reflecting the sophistication of a $1 million wedding. And then, I saw him. Ethan was standing there wearing a perfectly tailored suit, his face carved into a mask of indifference. But I knew. I knew that wasn't the expression of a happy man. I knew because I had seen Ethan look at something, at someone, as if he wanted more. And he wasn't looking at her. Not now. Not ever. He was looking at me. My heart raced when his eyes met mine. The music began. The bride appeared. The moment was approaching. The vows. The kiss. The forever. My breath caught in my chest. And then, he did the unthinkable. Ethan Donovan stepped off the altar, in the middle of the ceremony, in front of everyone. Whispers started. Confusion. Shock. But he didn't stop. He didn't hesitate. He walked toward me, and my heart nearly exploded. "What are you doing?" My voice was a whisper. He didn't answer. He just stopped in front of me, breathing heavily, his eyes burning into mine as if he were just now realizing something obvious. I should have done this sooner. The world spun around us, but at the same time, it felt like only the two of us existed. "You can't." My mind said one thing, but my heart begged for another. I can. One step, one look. A whole world of unspoken decisions. And then, he made the choice. Ethan Donovan pulled me close, and in front of everyone, kissed me as if he had never belonged anywhere else but in my arms. Spring arrived early that year. The streets of New York were warmer than usual for February, and the sun streamed through the windows of the small cafe where I was sitting, alone, drinking the same cheap coffee I always had before my life turned upside down. before Ethan Donovan. I should have felt relieved. After all, my life was back to normal. I worked hard for that. I found a new job. I found a decent apartment. Ethan moved on. Or at least that's what I told myself. Because deep down, every time my phone vibrated, every time I saw a man in a dark suit crossing the street, something inside me hoped it would be him, hoped that all of this wasn't over yet. And maybe that's why I wasn't surprised when a familiar shadow covered my table. I didn't need to look to know, but I looked anyway. And there he was, Ethan Donovan, the man I unintentionally loved, the man who broke me without realizing it, the man who gave up everything for me, and then disappeared. He sat across from me without asking for permission, as if he had never left. "Hi, Claire." My throat went dry. "What are you doing here?" He ignored my question, studying my face as if he were trying to memorize every detail. And then, he placed something on the table, a navy blue velvet box. My heart stopped. I didn't touch it. I didn't move. "If there's one thing I've learned," he began, his voice rough and low, laden with something I couldn't name. I held my breath. "It's that this time. I prefer you to accept the ring before you swallow it." The coffee around me disappeared. The people, the noise, the world. All that remained was Ethan, and a ring that, this time, was just mine. I should say something. I should ask what he wanted. But the truth? I already knew. And this time, I wanted it too. So, without thinking, I picked up the box and smiled. If you were Claire, would you have accepted Ethan's proposal back at the beginning? And what would you do in his place? Leave your comment and tell me. I want to know if this was the best accident of their lives, or the worst. And if you enjoyed the story, like, share, and subscribe for more romances like this.